Thank you for your interest in learning more about the proposed multimodal improvements along US 6 from Fox Hollow to Bramblebush. This video is approximately 9 minutes long and provides a summary of the proposed improvements. After learning more, we invite you to complete a quick survey to tell us what is important to you, review the concept design documents in more detail, and provide any other comments you may have for the project team related to the improvements on US 6 from Fox Hollow to Bramblebush. US 6 from Fox Hollow to Bramblebush is home to many residents, and the area continues to see growth and development. Given the number of housing developments, businesses, high transit use, and the need to consider the needs of bikers and walkers in the area, 4 options for improvements were developed. In a moment, we will go into more detail about the improvement options, but first we wanted to walk through the initial evaluation that was conducted to determine feasibility of each of the options. As you can see on this chart, Option 3, which includes a signalized intersection at Bramblebush and a right-in, right-out access point at Arrowgrass and a full movement intersection at Fox Hollow, was not recommended for additional analysis as it did not meet enough criteria to support the project's purpose and need for safety and mobility as well as traffic operations in the area. As such, the remainder of this video presentation focuses on options 1, 2, and 4, which all meet the purpose and need of the project. The next 3 slides provide more detailed information about the improvements proposed for options 1, 2, and 4. Option number 1 includes a roundabout at both Fox Hollow and Bramblebush with right-in, right-out access at Arrowgrass. The option includes a 10-foot multi-use path on the north side of US 6 and an 8-foot multi-use path on the south side of US 6. This option also includes on-street buffered bike lanes on the north and south sides of US 6. The bike lanes are 5 feet wide with a 3-foot buffer that separates the bike lane from the vehicle travel lanes. This option allows for bicycles to take a lane and merge with the traffic through the roundabouts or exit the buffered bike lane and use the multi-use path to navigate through the roundabouts. Transit stop areas are also an important component of this alternative given the high use of transit in the area. 2 transit stops are identified, one at Fox Hollow and one at Bramblebush. The stops are on both the north and south sides of US 6 on the west side of the roundabouts. The locations were identified to improve safety, maximize bicycle and pedestrian access, and ensure adequate spacing between the stops. It is important to note that once the final design option is developed, transit locations may shift a little to make sure they are best meeting the needs of all the residents in the area. As you can see on this slide, option number 2 is very similar to option number 1. Roundabouts are located at Fox Hollow and Bramblebush, and there is right-in, right-out access at Arrowgrass. This option maintains the 10-foot multi-use path on the north side of US 6 and an 8-foot multi-use path on the south side, similar to option number 1. Features to note that are different from option number 1 are the bike facilities. While option number 1 includes 8-foot buffered bike lanes, option 2 requires that bikes ride on a 4-foot shoulder that is adjacent to the travel lane or use the multi-use path. The transit stops are located on the west sides of the roundabouts on both the north and south sides of US 6, just like in option number 1. The final option, option number 4, eliminates the roundabout at Bramblebush and instead includes roundabouts at Fox Hollow and at Arrowgrass. Eastbound, there is right-in, right-out access at the east end of Eagle River Village. Like options number 1 and number 2, this option includes a 10-foot multi-use path on the north side of US 6 and an 8-foot multi-use path on the south side. This option also includes on-street buffered bike lanes on the north and south sides of US 6, similar to option number 1. The bike lanes are 5 feet wide with a 3-foot buffer that separates the bike lane from the vehicle travel lanes. Under this option, bicyclists would be required to take a lane and merge with traffic through the roundabouts or exit the buffered bike lane and use the multi-use paths to navigate through the roundabouts. Similar to options number 1 and number 2, it was important to locate transit stops in locations that improve safety, maximize bicycle and pedestrian access, and provide enough spacing between stops. 2 transit stops are identified, one on the east side of the FOXHOLLOW roundabout and one on the east side of the Arrowgrass roundabout. The stops are located in both the eastbound and westbound directions. Now that you understand the differences between the alternatives, we will walk through the second alternatives evaluation that was conducted to compare the 3 options. The evaluation considered the following characteristics and how well they benefit or support the 3 options developed for US 6 from FOXHOLLOW to BRAMBLEBUSH. The characteristics include safety, community character, equity, healthy environment, connectivity, mobility and traffic operations, constructability and implementation, and sustainability. As shown on the slide, all 3 options resulted in an overall medium rating, and as such, a preferred alternative did not emerge directly from the evaluation. This is why your input is so important. Now we'll highlight some of the pros and cons of the options to help you decide which alternative and design factors you think best meet the needs of the West Edwards community. First, we will review the pros that are consistent across all options. All of the options include multi-use paths along both the north and south sides of US 6 to enhance bicycle and pedestrian mobility. Roundabouts are included in some manner in all options. This provides safe intersection operations and improves overall access and connectivity for all modes. Now we're going to talk specifically about the pros and cons of each option. We'll start with option number 1. Option number 1 includes buffered bike lanes, which provides separate facilities for all modes and provides a safer and more comfortable environment for all users. However, some of the cons for option number 1 include that when you compare it to option 4, this option has more impacts to private parks and open space properties, including the newly constructed playground in Eagle River Village. Also, the overall corridor design for option number 1 is wider because of the buffered bike lanes, which increases overall property impacts and requires more right-of-way acquisition. Given the wider corridor design, there is potential for an overall higher project cost for option number 1 as well. Moving on to option number 2. This option eliminates the buffered bike lanes and limits the bike facilities to the 4-foot shoulder. This option has an overall narrower corridor design, which minimizes impacts to property owners and the environment. It also minimizes right-of-way acquisition, which could result in slightly lower project costs compared to options number 1 and number 4. To the contrary, there are some cons to option number 2. Similar to option number 1, option number 2 has more impacts to private parks and open space properties, including the newly constructed playground in Eagle River Village. This option also requires that bikes and vehicles share the roadway, which often minimizes comfort for bicyclists and impacts overall mobility for all users. The pros of option number 4. Moving on, similar to option number 1, option number 4 includes buffered bike lanes, which provides separate facilities for all modes and provides a safer and more comfortable environment for all users. This option also avoids impacts to the Eagle River Village playground and other open space properties. Additionally, option number 4 provides direct access to US 6 from Eagle River Village with the new Arrowgrass roundabout. There are some cons to option number 4 as well. While this option minimizes impacts to parks and open spaces, there are impacts to residences in Eagle River Village on both the north and south sides of US 6 at Arrowgrass. This option also includes only 2 controlled pedestrian crossing locations compared to 3 crossing locations in both option number 1 and option number 2. Also, similar to option number 1, option 4 has a wider corridor design that is needed to accommodate the 8-foot buffered bike lanes. This results in more impacts to property owners and the environment. This may result in needing to acquire additional right-of-way, which could increase the overall project cost. Ultimately, option 1, 2, and 4 are all feasible options, so we need the community's input. After you close out of this video, be sure to scroll down to complete our brief survey to tell us which option you prefer and which design features are most important. You can also share your ideas through the Start the Discussion tool. Your input will be reviewed by the project team and will inform the selection of the preferred alternative for US 6 from FOXHOLLOW to BRAMBLEBUSH. This wraps up our overview presentation about the proposed improvements and alternatives for US 6 from FOXHOLLOW to BRAMBLEBUSH. The PDF file of this presentation and the more detailed concept design files are also available if you're interested in reviewing the materials in more detail. And don't forget to complete the brief survey to help us understand which design features are most important to you for this corridor. Thanks again for your time and participation. Your input is helping shape the future of West Edwards.